So our last speaker is Taylor Irwin of Central Michigan District Health Department. Taylor graduated with her BS in Environmental Health and Safety and Masters of Public Administration from Central Michigan University. She is the Environmental Health Supervisor in Isabella County and has been working with the Central Michigan District Health Department 4 years now. She worked at the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe as a watershed outreach coordinator for 5 years before coming on to the health department. She'll be talking about septic tank deterioration. So let's welcome Taylor and give her your best attention.
Thank you for having me. So today, I kind of want to have a back and forth discussion with everybody. I'm curious to get your feedback as to how you are looking at septic tanks, potentially pump tanks when you're pumping, and how closely that you're inspecting these when you're out there. I have lots of pictures in my presentation as well, so I just kind of want to go over those and get your feedback. So what I have on the screen right now is a picture of a septic tank that is cracked that we've seen through our time of transfer program, which I'll talk a little bit about later as well. Sometimes these are hard to see, and they're really dependent on how detailed you're uncovering the tank and how thoroughly you're uncovering that. So just a show of hands, how many of you guys are out there looking for these cracks and really uncovering the tanks to take a look at the condition when you're out pumping them? Okay, a few people. So these are different things we see, and the biggest issue is that particularly in the wintertime, when you're seeing water get in these cracks and freeze and thaw, that can lead to a tank failure as well. So that's a safety concern for us. We also see signs of corrosion as well. Sometimes that occurs around the opening of the tank. Sometimes it's more like a thinning of the tank from the inside out on the top. And sometimes it's around the baffle as well if there's a cement baffle on the tank. And just by show of hands, how many people are looking for signs of corrosion when they're out pumping? Okay, most people. And of those people, how many of you are having conversations with the homeowner after this about the condition of their tanks? Okay, quite a few. That's good.
I see it more at the accident.
What was that?
I see corrosion more at the accident than the end.
Corrosion more often?
Yeah. That type of thing more at the outlet.
Okay, yeah, on the outlet access end. All right, thank you. Another thing that we're looking for when we are seeing pictures or inspecting septic tanks is that clear effluent line to see if the tank is regularly at an appropriate level or if there's signs that the effluent in the tank has been above the baffle or has overflowed. I'm sure you guys are familiar with the filters. Sometimes it's as simple as the homeowner needs to clean the filter more often, but other times it can be indicative of a problem with the drain field as well. So you can see in these pictures on the bottom here how there's black around the edge. That's what we're looking for. That tells us that the tank has been over full, whereas the other pictures towards the top have more clear effluent lines. We also see tanks that have missing or broken baffles, or like some just have a pipe that goes straight out to the drain field and there's no real method for preventing those solids and scums from getting out to the field. If you encounter something like this, are you typically installing a baffle for the homeowners? Yeah? Okay. Roots in the septic tank is another one we see, and I think it can be difficult to determine based on the level of root intrusion if where that determining point is if it compromises the structure of the tank or not. You know, I'm sure you guys regularly see, you know, grass roots and things getting in around the lids, which isn't all that uncommon, but when they are intruding into the tank more severely than that, it could potentially compromise the structure as well. So as the health department, when we see septic tanks are typically at a time of transfer inspection like we have in Isabella County. Sometimes we're doing existing system evaluations where they're going to add on a bedroom, or there's a trailer there that was torn down and they're going to put a house up, something to that extent. We see them if they may have a final inspection on a drain field. They just needed a drain field, not a tank. And then occasionally as well, we see them when we get complaints. So through our time of transfer program, I put up a graph here from the last 5 years. The biggest reason that septic systems fail our time of transfer program is because of a septic tank. Typically that's due to deterioration of the tank. Sometimes it's corrosion, but the biggest idea is that these tanks are deteriorating and it's out of sight, out of mind. It's not something that the homeowners are thinking about until it actually collapses, and we'd like to try and catch them before that happens. We also inspect wells for our program, and most of these, if they fail, are failed due to substantial construction deficiencies. Most of them are old wells that don't have protected suction lines. And it is something we're looking at with when we do septic permits as well. If they do have an unprotected suction line, you know, there's an additional feature being the well pump that we have to maintain isolation from. So. But overall, a majority, about 75% of the time of transfer inspections that we do see are passing the well and septic. But we want to catch those that could potentially become public health hazards or are already public health hazards. A couple things that I'd like to have a discussion about are tank-only installations. So when people get a permit for just a septic tank, whether it's through our time of transfer program or they had an issue, maybe you guys were out talking to them and they know they needed a new tank, so they're just replacing the tank. From our installers in the audience, what are you doing if you see steady stream of water coming in the inlet of the tank when you're installing this? Are you having conversations with the homeowner? Do you usually see these issues getting resolved? See a couple heads nodding. Yeah. All right. And what about if there's water flowing back from the drain field? As well. Are you having that discussion with them too? Okay. All right. And are people typically receptive to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
They don't want to pay for a new drain field.
Yeah. All right. When you go to a house that has a pump tank, are you regularly, I know for our TOT program, we require that the tanks be pumped, but are you doing that consistently at homes that maybe aren't for a time of transfer? And when you do these, are you looking at the components in the pump tank? I see some heads nodding. Anybody want to volunteer to kind of tell me what all they're looking for in a pump tank? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, he's bringing you a microphone so we can all hear.
I recommend if you got a septic tank and a pump tank that you pump both of them.
Okay.
It's good to rinse out the pump tank too. I look for the floats, see if they have a, the pump float, lift it up, see if it works,
Okay,
see if it turns on the pump pumps. I'll do that before I actually start pumping the pump tank. And then, if they have an alarm float or not. I always check out the conditions of the tanks, If they got a deep riser, it's hard to do that, but, But yeah, I think it's best if you because you're always gonna get a certain amount of sediment that drifts over, and I don't care if you got a filter or not, you're still gonna get a certain amount of sediment gonna drift over to the pump tank.
thank you. Anybody else have anything to add? No. Oh. Microphone's coming.
We check the lift station for corrosion as well.
Okay,
We actually carry an inspection mirror on our pump truck. We stick that in there, check the roof of the tank for same sort of corrosion happens in the lift tank as it does in, your main tank around the baffle. It's what we experience in our county.
okay. Yeah, I think pump tanks deteriorate faster than septic tanks, is that what you said? Yeah. All right, well, good to know. And just by a show of hands, how many are actually examining if the pump is functioning when you go out there? Quite a few. All right, good to know. And then I just have a few notes about safety as well. This was a tank that nobody knew was failing until they came to dig it up and have it pumped. So we see these just as a reminder, make sure none of your employees are standing over the tanks or anything like that, because we do see these more frequently than we'd like to. Cracking lids is common. I'm sure you guys do it all the time. We do want to make sure that if the lids do get cracked, that if it compromises the tank being watertight, that those lids are getting replaced to avoid surface water getting into the tank and into their drain field. So. And that's all I have. If anybody has questions, wants to have discussion about what's being looked at in the tanks, I'm very open to that. If not, thank you for your time.